In this video, Toyota, the world's largest and most idiotic automotive manufacturer, tacitly admits they're intending on going bankrupt later this decade. Really? Ford admit they're not making any money on their electric vehicles. Sounds like a sustainable business model. Some new data shows Tesla continues to absolutely dominate the so-called competition, and the violent mood swings in the stock market continue. Today, stocks rebounding strongly. Keyword today. So let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store, so check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. The bipolar stock market continues to deliver the goods, swinging violently from one direction to the other. Today, a sea of green, Tesla stock up 5.5%, closing just a smidge under $700 per share. The Nasdaq 100 up 2.5%, Amazon stock up over 5%, Alphabet, Google's parent company, up over 2.5%, Apple stock up over 2%, Rivian stock, the day after Elon Musk points out they're headed for bankruptcy, up over 6.5%, and Lucid stock, same story, Elon Musk pointing out less than 48 hours ago, the company likely doomed, yet still up 5.5%. Isn't it interesting, the psychology of the stock market? Everything up, everything down. There's no nuance here whatsoever. If you're buying, I'm buying. If you're selling, I'm selling. If you're panicking, I'm panicking. The bell curve is real. And just for the record, I think the extreme volatility will continue for many months to come. So before we check out the new data showing Tesla continues to absolutely dominate and embarrass the so-called competition, let's watch Toyota, the world's largest automotive manufacturer, not only embarrass themselves on their latest earnings, but tacitly admit they intend on going bankrupt later this decade. Of all the world's large automotive manufacturers, I think Toyota takes the cake for being the single most idiotic and poorly run. It's almost as if the clowns over at Toyota are currently receiving a PhD from the Mary Barra Institute of How to Destroy an Automotive Manufacturer. Here we are over on the Reuters website. Quote, Toyota says consumer choice dictates the pace of their bankruptcy. Wait, no, sorry, I misread that. One more time. Toyota says consumer choice dictates pace of electrification. Let's read on. Toyota Motor Corporation pushed back against critics who say it has been slow to embrace battery electric vehicles. Let's take a quick pause here. Name an automotive manufacturer anywhere on planet Earth who hasn't been slow to move toward electrification, other than, of course, the one true exception, Tesla. They've all been too slow. Arguing it needed to offer a variety of car choices to suit different markets and customers, aka arguing they're so fucking dumb, the people steering the ship at Toyota are so incompetent, so ill-informed, that they weren't sure whether or not electric vehicles would be the future. Therefore, due to their ignorance and uncertainty, they've spent the last half a decade or so punching themselves in the face. And now they will pay the ultimate price. This is so pathetic, a severe lack of leadership and vision. Toyota deserves everything that's coming to them. I mean, the employees of Toyota don't. I feel bad for these folks, but Toyota is not going to survive the decade, and this is the sole reason. This idiocy, this incompetent so-called leadership. It's astonishing. Let's continue. At its annual general meeting on Wednesday, the world's largest automaker by sales doubled down on its position. I just can't. This is 2022. June 2022. Dude. The world's largest automaker by sales doubled down on its position that it would stick with technologies including fuel cell vehicles and hybrids that have for the past 2 decades made it a leader in cleaner cars. That's right, the world's largest automotive manufacturer by vehicle sales intends to spread itself thin and pursue at least 2 entirely redundant technologies because they're too fucking stupid to understand that EVs are the future. Honestly, in 2022, Toyota still, we're not really sure about electric vehicles, so we're going to make lots of other things as well because we're not really sure. I do not know how to respond to this other than with absolute ridicule. This is the dumbest shit you will hear from any automotive manufacturer on the planet today. These idiots still don't realize EVs are the future. Apart from concerns about its electrification strategy, or lack thereof, incompetent Toyota executives tackled a range of questions on CEO succession plans to the ongoing chip shortage. Once a favorite with environmentalists for its popular hybrid Prius model, Toyota has come under fire for not phasing out gasoline-powered cars and its lobbying on climate policy. We won't go there, but if you guys are curious, there's a link in the description to the original article. You can click through. This is pretty hilarious. Quote, "The goal is carbon neutrality," Toyota's chief technology officer said, responding to questions submitted by a Danish pension fund, which also asked Toyota to refrain from lobbying to undermine the transition to battery electric vehicles, said the 3IQ genius at Toyota. In order to popularize electric cars that include plug-in hybrids, a variety of options should be available and the automaker should not narrow those down, he said. Again, emphasizing how clueless these fuckwits are, how blind they are, how ignorant they are of the fact that EVs are the future. It's a done deal, and this is obvious to anyone whose brain works. Clearly that excludes everyone currently calling the shots at Toyota. Quote, Toyota used the pretext of customer choices to avoid answering the question about lobbying activities to slow the transition toward fossil fuel-free cars. Quote, as investors, we expect more in 2022 against the backdrop of the climate crisis threatening to limit much more than customer choices in a not-so-distant future. Toyota idiotically, in fact moronically, argues that hybrids still make sense in markets where infrastructure is not ready to support a faster move to battery electric vehicles. That's right. Toyota's plan, well, we might need to build some chargers, but we don't want to do that, so we're going to wait for somebody else to do that, and until somebody else builds the charging infrastructure for us, we obviously can't make lots of battery electric vehicles, so we won't, because we're really smart, and that's obviously a foolproof strategy. It gets even funnier. And is exploring the viability of green fuels for internal combustion engine cars. That's right, Toyota still looking at continued investment into internal combustion engine vehicles. In June 2022, you f***ing idiots. Including hydrogen. For some reason, Trevor Meltdown Milton just came to mind. Anyway, moving along. There is an intellectual gap between Toyota... Oh wait, that's not what it says. There is a gap between Toyota, which approaches decarbonisation in a pragmatic way, and environmental groups that call for immediate action. Here's where things get absolutely fucking hilarious. The company, as in Toyota, last year committed to spend $60 billion by 2030 to electrify its cars. I mean, this sounds good, right? Good start, although they're a few years too late there. I mean, as I've said, by mid-decade, consumers will literally need to be suffering from brain damage to buy ICE vehicles. So, hey, better late than never. But here's the part that just absolutely kills me. Half of that $60 billion is for the development of fully electric cars. And that's right. That means these fuckwits are planning to spend $30 billion on technologies that will be completely redundant, useless, and not widely adopted. Yep, that's right, Toyota, who should be scrambling as fast as possible to get all in on EVs, are planning on pissing away $30 billion over the next 8 years and accelerating their imminent bankruptcy. Still, it expects annual sales of such cars to reach only 3.5 million by the end of the decade, around a third of current sales. So just to make sure everybody grasps this, Toyota, in all their brain-damaged glory, expect that in 2030, almost a decade from now, two-thirds of all the vehicles they sell will still be internal combustion engine in 2030. Game, set, fucking match. They're done. This is it in a nutshell. One more time. This is June 2022 right now. And Toyota, the world's largest automotive manufacturer by vehicle volumes, are expecting to sell around 6 million ICE vehicles in 2030. Really? Just last month, Toyota rolled out its first mass-produced all-electric vehicle domestically, albeit for lease only. They seem serious, don't they? Can't even buy the thing. And gasoline electric hybrid models remain far more popular in Japan. Asked about succession planning, Chief Executive Akio Toyoda, yes, that name does sound like Toyota, and there is a reason for that. If you can't read between the lines, Akio here, not necessarily leading Toyota due to competence, but ancestry. Never a good idea. Who has led the company toward bankruptcy for the last 13 years. Said he was, quote, thinking about timing and the selection of a successor. There has been no indication that Toyota plans to step down, and spoiler alert, he probably won't. Captain's going down with the ship. Might get the boot a few years before Toyota ultimately goes bankrupt, but it's already too late. This is what happens when you have an absolute fucking moron leading your company. Toyota, 66, a grandson of company founder. Never a good idea. Steered the company toward bankrupt. Oh wait, no, I read it wrong. Steered the company through a dark phase when Toyota sales slumped after the recall of millions of vehicles and the company reported billions of dollars in losses. You ain't saying nothing yet, Toyota. Quote, I'd pick someone who understands the company's philosophy as my successor, he added. I'm going to describe Toyota's philosophy as if it were a person. Toyota's philosophy is to be as unsure of themselves, as uncertain, as insecure as possible, to have no courage, no conviction, to make no commitments, to be unwilling to cut off any possibilities whatsoever, to have a severe commitment phobia, to operate idiotically, to fail to recognize the obvious and inevitable, to lobby to slow down the adoption of battery electric vehicles, to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt about these products, and to do their absolute utmost to self-immolate in slow motion in the 2020s. It gets even more hilarious. In 2020, he appointed company veterans to top roles. Both were 51 years old at the time, a relatively young age for top Toyota executives. Now, I don't want to be too hard on people who are getting on in terms of their age, but is it possible on occasion that dinosaurs tend to get locked into their way of thinking and their worldview, and no amount of data or evidence to the contrary can change their mind? This is always the way we've done things, we should just keep doing the same things. Oh, those electric vehicles, no, nobody wants to buy those. If you're interested, investigate the age of some of Tesla's executives. Toyota, which sold 10.5 million vehicles in 2021, far outstripping closest rival Volkswagen, has repeatedly cut production this year, plagued by a global chip crunch. So in short, Toyota absolutely hell-bent on going bankrupt before the decade is out. I honestly cannot fathom the level of idiocy and absolute incompetence in Toyota's leadership. This isn't hyperbole, I'm serious. I just can't even fathom. How can people so incompetent still be calling the shots at this company? Sure is a good thing Ford isn't having any problems either. Wait, Ford's CFO says inflation has erased Mustang Mach-E profits, but isn't hurting demand for new vehicles. Ford Motors CFO on Wednesday said that the company isn't yet seeing consumer demand for new vehicles drop off. Good start. But rising commodity costs have wiped out the profit it initially expected to make on its electric Mustang Mach-E. Not a very promising sign. After all, if you can't make money selling your electric vehicles, then you sell more of them. It just means you make less money. And when I say make less money, I mean lose more money. That's going to be tough, especially when there's a company out there profitably making EVs that consumers are willing to wait over a year to take delivery of. Oh, and it gets better. Quote, Ford CFO John Lawler noted, one emerging sign that consumers may be reaching their inflationary limits. Ford Credit, something I've discussed in detail in the past, a couple of years ago in fact. Ford Credit, the company's financing arm, one of the key drivers of profitability, believe it or not, has seen an uptick in delinquencies or late payments. You're telling me that this large legacy automotive manufacturer, a substantial portion of whose business is based on financing vehicles that consumers buy, is starting to see consumers miss repayments. That's interesting. If this trend continues, what could that mean for Ford Credit? Or wait, here's a better question. What if the value of the assets associated with the financing, the ICE vehicles consumers have been buying, that's how you finance a vehicle, the vehicle's the security, so hey, the customer doesn't pay off their loan, that's fine, you just take back their car and sell it, no problem. What if the value of the vehicle collapses? I don't know, maybe a superior technology turns up, completely disrupts the ICE vehicle? Could this be financially ruinous for a company like Ford? And the answer would be yes. Again, Ford's CFO on Wednesday said the company isn't yet seeing consumer demand for new vehicles drop off, but rising commodity costs have wiped out the profit it initially expected to make on its electric Mustang Mach-E. Demand for new Fords and Lincolns continues to exceed supply, which is still constrained by an ongoing global chip shortage of semiconductors. And this is even after Ford raised vehicle prices to offset the effects of inflation. For the most part, those price increases have preserved Ford's profit margins, Lawler said, but the price rises weren't enough to offset the impact of climbing costs on the company's electric Mustang Mach-E. So let's just take a quick moment here to recap where things are at globally. Tesla has been forced to raise the prices of their vehicles 15, 20% in the last 12, 18 months. Not because their costs have gone up that much, but because there's so much fucking demand that consumers don't want to be waiting 2 years to take delivery, so Tesla's been forced to up the prices. This gives Tesla a huge buffer and a massive lever they can pull in the future to continue to sell every vehicle they make for years to come. Meanwhile, what is unquestionably the most compelling electric vehicle produced by a legacy automotive manufacturer to date, the Mustang Mach-E, is unprofitable at today's prices. How does this end for Ford? Answer: not well. The model saw its costs increase substantially due to sharply higher battery material costs. While the Mach-E was profitable when it first launched in late 2020, that's no longer true. RIP. Despite the upbeat report on demand, Lawler noted one emerging sign that consumers may be reaching their inflationary limits. Ford Credit, the company's financing arm, which may in fact be solely responsible for destroying Ford and causing them to go bankrupt in the future, has seen an uptick in delinquencies or late payments. Lawler said Ford is taking the possibility of a US recession seriously, and the company has modeled several possible scenarios for a downturn. I wonder if Ford going bankrupt is one of the scenarios they've modeled. Still, Ford and the broader auto industry are in a different position today than in past recessions, when the company typically held high inventories and increased discounts that eroded margins. Quote, "We don't have that today. We're very lean on inventories. We have an order bank that's significant at over 300,000 units. As an industry and a company, we're heading into this possible recession in a much different position than we've ever been before." That's an understatement, but not for the reasons that Lawler believes. So a quick recap, Toyota are absolutely intent on bankrupting themselves this decade. So idiotic, they don't even believe in electric vehicles. They don't understand the science. They don't understand the numbers. They don't understand the declining costs, the fact that EVs are new technology, manufacturing costs will plummet over the decade. End of this decade, EVs will be about half the price they are today for comparable performance and specs. And I didn't pull this number out of my ass. Yet Toyota still thinks in 2030, 2/3 of their new vehicle sales will be ICE. And now we have Ford admitting that they're not even making money on their flagship electric vehicle, which they also admit is a surprise. They didn't see the material costs increasing coming. Curious, Tesla did. Hence the long-term contracts, and hence warning everybody. Hence Tesla co-founder JB Straubel pointing out maybe a year and a half ago that legacy automotive manufacturers, despite their promises of EVs, quote, haven't done the math. Well, now they're starting to do the math and go, oh, fuck, yeah, we're not actually going to be making money on this after all. But don't forget, the competition is coming all over itself. So, as Tesla's alleged competition continues to self-immolate and embarrass themselves, Tesla themselves continue to be lauded. We're over on Zootobi and looking at the Global Happy Motorist Index, US and Europe breakdown. What these guys and girls have done here is collate a bunch of reviews from different sources, Parker's, Honest John, Auto Trader, Edmunds, on a bunch of different models, top selling vehicles on Earth in the last year or so. So let's look at the cars with the highest owner ratings. Anyone want to guess? Number one. Of course, we all know the answer. Tesla taking out the number one spot. This is what happens when instead of asking the so-called experts, you ask the people that actually own the products. You can't cheat these scores. This isn't a single opinion from a so-called expert. These are the facts from a mass number of consumers. Tesla's Model 3, number one position. Impressive, but unsurprising. And now let's scroll forward. The cars with the highest and lowest owner ratings. Just to put things in context here, Tesla Model 3, number one position, 4.53 out of 5. Anyone notice any electric vehicles on this list besides Tesla's Model 3? Because this is kind of important. Remember, a few years' time, consumers won't be buying these other vehicles anyway, so forget they even exist. What's the second most compelling electric vehicle on this list that isn't a Tesla? Please, can anyone tell me? I'm struggling here. Maybe I've missed one. Or maybe they're all ICE vehicles. And now onto the brands, not the vehicle models, but the brands with the highest owner ratings. Once again, Tesla, top spot. Number two, Thai, Land Rover, and Mazda. And now we can see the brands with the highest and the lowest owner ratings. One thing's for sure, the further down the list you are, the more f***ed you are. If you can't even make a compelling ICE vehicle, good luck making a compelling EV that can compete with or ultimately beat a Tesla. Mercedes-Benz, almost the bottom of the pile, absolutely shocking. Nissan, not that far away, then Subaru, Honda, Fiat, Jeep, Hyundai, Toyota, then Mercedes. I mean, this is not looking good, unless you're Tesla. And remember we talked about Toyota and their intention to go bankrupt later this decade? Well, this is important. America's top-selling cars with the highest owner rating. Toyota Corolla, a top-selling car with a great rating, 4.33. Not bad. Remember, when Toyota doesn't exist, who's going to replace all these Toyota Corolla sales? Spoiler alert, that would be Tesla. And now we're looking at the Europe data. Surprise to f***ing prize. Number one model, Tesla Model 3, 4.53 out of 5. What are the odds that Tesla would dominate both the US and Europe? This isn't some expert sharing their opinion. This is an aggregate of consumer ratings on their vehicles from a number of different sources. The best test of all. So to recap, stocks go up, stocks go down. What's new? Toyota intent on going bankrupt later this decade. Ford admitting they're not even making money on their flagship electric vehicle and that they're surprised by that. And consumers who actually buy products from automotive manufacturers unequivocally Tesla number one, not just in Europe, but also the United States. What a surprise. But remember, the competition is coming. Oh, and then there's the first hints of Ford's finance arm going bust. So I think the short story here is Toyota's fucked, Ford's fucked, Tesla not so fucked. And lastly, don't forget to join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment. There you'll gain access to well over 100 exclusive Q&A videos, all sorts of topics, many prophetic statements, plus up-to-date access to my Tesla stock price targets out till 2032 in the bear case, the base case, the bull case, and the hyper bull case. And once again, I want to point out Tesla stock today, still, to me, bargain of the fucking century. Don't say I didn't warn you. So, see you guys over on Patreon. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.